Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Push one in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, cool. You can hear me. So just give me a few seconds. I'm using Zoom now, so this is a new configuration. So I just need to grab the link and get started. All right, push one in the chat if you can see the screen. Actually, I think this is wrong. Let me stop sharing real quick. All right, I know what to do. Okay. All right, man. Let me get started. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let me know if it's visible in the chat. Yeah, push one in the chat if it's visible or not. All right, cool. All right. There's been a lot of questions over the last, since the last live stream we did about tech layoffs and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of cover some of the questions and concerns that some people had. But we're going to start with this article that came in the other day from crn.com. The 10 most in-demand IT skills for freelance jobs in 2023. It says from back-end and front-end developers to e-commerce website design and manual testing, here are the top 10 most in-demand IT skills in 2023. So every year, the skill demand changes. And so what was hot last year was blockchain, cybersecurity, Python, and stuff like that. This time around, it's going to be different. I think some of the AI language model systems like ChatGPT in Google's version, as well as Amazon's upcoming version, has changed a lot of the playing field for this year. So let's go into this. All right. Upwork recently unveiled the top 10 most in-demand IT skills that organizations are seeking from independent technology professionals in 2023. From back-end and front-end developers to mobile application and web designers, there's a huge demand in the market for skilled technology professionals for many jobs and projects needed from startups to Fortune 100 companies. For example, one of the most highly in-demand IT skills in 2023 is a full-stack developer that requires skills around everything from HTML, Python, and JavaScript to frameworks like Node.js and C++. To even database management systems like MySQL and Postgres SQL. Quote, the uncertain economic environment is pushing businesses to explore new solutions to stay competitive, and they are finding unlocked potential in the growing pool of skilled independent professionals, said Margaret Liani, Vice President of Talent Solutions at Upwork, in a statement. IT freelance jobs are opening up for highly skilled tech professionals in today's market more than ever before, according to Upwork. In fact, data from Upwork shows that 60 million Americans perform freelance work over the past 12 months, representing roughly 39% of the US workforce, according to data from San Francisco-based company. Upwork connects millions of businesses with independent professionals and agencies around the globe via its marketplace for freelancers in fields including technology. The company's skills data was sourced from Upwork database and is based on US freelancer earnings from January 1st, 2022 to October 31st, 2022. Each skill had a minimum of 500 projects with active work. So let's go down the list. Scripting and automations. Skilled scripting and automation professionals know how to use automation software to leverage the current scripts within a company's framework. These IT professionals help automate tasks for a business, such as sending emails to customers by writing codes in languages such as JavaScript and Python. Some of the top automation and scripting skills needed today include expertise on tools like ActiveBatch, Atera, Microsoft Power Apps, and NinjaOne. Organizations use automation scripts to reduce the time that businesses spend on automating tasks because they don't need to recompile files or restart a server. Automation scripts are small pieces of code that can extend the product. So in cybersecurity, they call it SOAR, security orchestration automation. So I think this is actually an accurate point. I don't do a whole lot of scripting, and when I do have to script, I only have to do it in PowerShell because it's not a top priority for responsibilities for me. But in regard to desktop support, when system admin, especially network admin, yeah, you need to do a lot of scripting. You need to do a lot of automation because you need to automate the repeatable tasks that require that should not require human intervention. So things that you need to log into different servers to shut down or spin up different containers and things like that. You need to really automate these things. You need to know how to script it. scripting is not that bad, but I do agree with this. I think that they are making a very, I think they're making a very good point with this, being number 10. It's not high on the list for me at all, but I do think it's relevant to have that skill set. So I think this only really matters when you're understaffed because you don't have enough resources to go around. But I do think at some point you're going to have to script, whether it's PowerShell or it's Bash or some form of Linux, or it's some kind of cloud computing process that needs to be automated. You're going to have to script at some point. And so I don't disagree with this at all. I think this is actually in the right place at number 10. Manual testing, ranking number 9 on Upwork's top 10 IT skills in demand for 2023 is manual testing, which has professionals testing the functionality of software or product without the help of automation tools. A manual software tester is important because it allows a human to check the quality of a new application or product without using automation or scripting. These manual testing tech professionals make sure a business software works effectively in various instances and scenarios. One of the biggest tasks manual testers do is identifying bugs and defects in a tool, ensuring the product is error-free, and make sure it conforms to any specified functional requirements. This is one of the reasons why things like ChatGPT can't necessarily replace these sort of jobs, right? This sort of skill set, because you need human intervention in a lot of these areas because you have to provide proof of work that you actually did do the due diligence of verifying that some of these tasks that are being delegated or some of these applications that are being developed had some kind of human eyes to actually verify that whatever you're doing actually functions the way that it's supposed to function. You really can't use ChatGPT or some kind of AI model to replace that because when you have to talk to humans, like an auditor or some kind of audit firm, you need to explain to them how you went about doing the testing, and then you have to kind of repeat it too in the event that they require it. So I do agree with this, that number 9 is actually pretty correct so far. All right, number 8 is CMS development. Content management systems are critically important to many businesses of all shapes and sizes. The CMS software helps a company's customers or users manage their various content from creation to publication, while also storing all of the content in databases. A CMS developer is responsible for creating both the front and back end of the software. These professionals help build intuitive, scalable, and SEO-oriented solutions for handling a company's content. Some popular languages CMS specialists are skilled in include C#, JavaScript, and Python. I don't know if I 100% agree with this, only because CMS systems tend to be outsourced anyways. So they usually come from a third party, and you're usually paying, you're usually paying for a software as a service. And so I'm not entirely sure if that's 100% accurate, because I don't know too many CMS systems that are handled in-house. I know a lot of CMS systems that are outsourced, but I don't know too many CMS systems that are handled in-house. And so maybe they may have some exceptional, you may have some exceptions that are happening now, but with the layoffs, the tech layoffs and stuff like that, I don't think that this is happening overall in every organization, at least not the ones I've been at. So I'm indifferent on this. I think that maybe it has a place. I just don't think it's all that necessary at this point. All right, number 7 is UX UI design. Expertise in user experience and user interface are in high demand in today's freelance job market, as professionals in this area create user-friendly experiences for a company's website and application. Skills UX UI designers help develop an app or website's content, create prototypes, test for issues, and plan for the overall structure of a business's website or application. The main difference between a UX designer compared to a UI designer is that user experience, or UX, focuses mostly on the feel of the user experience and solving user problems, while UI is more about how the product functions. UX UI designers are responsible for the design and implementation of all the experiences a person has when interacting with a website, tool, or application. This is very true. A lot of times when you look at Apple's products, right? The iPhone, the iPad, Apple spends millions of dollars trying to develop a really good user experience and user interface based on the cognitive thinking of a human. Okay, how would a person interact with this device when they pick it up, or how would they interact with this application when they use it? There's a lot of time and money spent at Apple trying to, get this absolutely perfect. And they're the masters at this. That's one thing I'll give Apple credit on, that they actually get the UX UI design down pack, like better than anybody I've ever seen. I think Microsoft is good, but I do think that Apple is really good at doing this. And I think that if you really look at an iPhone, even if you don't own one, if you just look at it, look how intuitive it is just to use. Anybody can pick up an iPhone and learn how to use it within a few minutes. It doesn't really take that much. And so UX UI design is really important when you're actually trying to develop a mobile-based app, for example. Like, a lot of guys make a lot of money developing apps in the App Store. Well, UX UI design is really important in this regard, because you need to know where to put the buttons and how it's going to actually interact. The human brain typically works from left to right. And so when you design the app, you have to keep all of these ideas take all these ideas into consideration, because if the user experience and the UI is bad, then that product is going to fail. So from a product design standpoint, I think that this is a necessary skill set. And I do agree with the place that it's in on the list here at number 7. I definitely think that's a very good place for it. Number 6 is e-commerce website development. In today's market, an e-commerce website developer creates and modifies websites for a company, responsible for the website's performance and capacity, as well as overall look. These developers help build a plan for the back end and front end of a company's e-commerce website, which can include product pages, shopping carts, order forms, and support pages. Businesses are seeking e-commerce website designers to improve website performance, help drive sales, and make their e-commerce portal a place customers want to use. I disagree with this. And here's why I disagree with it. You have platforms like Shopify, you have Square, you have, maybe you can say eBay for that matter. There's a variety of different platforms like Toast. They already have e-commerce kind of down pack at this point. I think if you would have said this 10 years ago, I think this would have made a lot of sense. I just don't agree with this at all. I think that, e-commerce website development, I don't think you really need to focus on this at all as a skill set in 2023. 10 years ago in 2013, I would have said, yeah, but in 2023, no. I think that's a wash at this point in 2023. There's too many other platforms that's already, developed that you can actually borrow from and run for yourself. I don't agree with this at all. So I'll scratch that off the list, and I don't recommend it at all. Ranking, number 5, web design. Ranking number 5 on Upwork's top 10 in-demand IT skills being sought by companies is web design. Web designers are specialists who can build websites using programming languages such as JavaScript and HTML, as well as have skills in graphics design software like Adobe Photoshop, Sketch, or Adobe Illustrator. Additional skills job seekers are looking for in web designers include UX, UI expertise, web server management, content management systems, and digital marketing. You have, other other platforms like Wix, HubSpot. You got a lot of different platforms that I think have replaced this sort of web design sort of perspective. A lot of the web developers I know, they don't really custom make anything anymore. They kind of just, borrow from whatever is available, and then they kind of, charge up for the labor of that. I don't know if I can recommend this as number 5 as a skill set in 2023. I don't really see all that. I think it should be down on the list, maybe at number 10 or number 9, but I don't see it at the top of the list at number 5. I disagree with this vehemently. I don't see any value in it. Maybe if you just want to be a freelance developer, that's fine, but I don't think that web design is something that people really look forward to. Maybe if this was like 2001, 2002, I would be like, yeah, that's a pretty dope skill set, with Dreamweaver, Macromedia, and things like that. I don't think that's a hot skill set right now. That's just my opinion. Number 4, mobile app development. As more businesses leverage mobile applications in the new hybrid workforce world, mobile app developers are in demand. A mobile application developer is an engineer who focuses on creating apps for laptops, smartphones, tablets, and other mobile devices for businesses. Job seekers in 2023 are looking for mobile app specialists who can fix issues in a company's software products, understand coding languages, and who can work with other teams, such as data scientists and graphic designers, to build modern applications. Organizations are seeking mobile app developers to target a specific audience. Help increase employee productivity and successful reach specific use case or company goals. I think this is really, a really relevant skill set, and I think it is, apropos for the where it is on the list at number 4. I think if any company or any business has any sort of relevance today, it has to be tech enabled. And I think having a mobile app makes a lot of sense. Mobile apps today are like the new business cards, right? Everybody had a business card back in the day, or everybody had a pager or some kind of fax machine. I think having a mobile app is pretty much, part and parcel for your business right now. If you have even if you're a lawyer or your insurance company who's a broker offering insurance, I think having a mobile app makes a heck of a lot of sense. Because it doesn't cost a whole lot and it pays off in the end anyways. And I think having a mobile app development background pays dividends now, right? It does pay dividends now. Everybody has an app. I don't care who it is. Everybody has an app. I definitely agree with this though. I think that mobile app development makes a lot of sense. If I was getting into tech right now, UX, UI, mobile app development, scripting. I think these are really core fundamentals. That's going to be core fundamentals going forward. If you want longevity in the industry, I think that these 4 skill sets are going to be really, really key. I wish I had that skill set. I don't have that skill set. I came in at a time when companies are siloed in terms of what their how their organizational structures were built. Network guys did network stuff, database guys did database stuff, and system admins did system admin stuff. They never crossed paths. They were very segregated, not because they didn't like each other, but that was just how they had SOD, separation of duties. And so I do think that these skill sets are going to be really relevant this year. If you can develop a mobile app, I think you're going to make a lot of money doing it. And I do think that a lot of companies that have not been tech enabled are going to look to be tech enabled at some point. All right, number 3 is back-end development. Ranking 3rd in Upwork's top 10 list of most in-demand IT skills in 2023 is back-end development. Back-end developers build and maintain the mechanisms that process data and perform actions on websites or applications. These back-end developers are experts around data storage, cybersecurity, and other server-side functions that users do not see when using a website or application. Experts on back-end development are also usually responsible for the integration of the work that front-end developers do. some of the most popular backend languages IT professionals should know are Ruby, PHP, Java, and Python. I couldn't disagree. I mean, I couldn't agree more with this. I think that I think if you're a system admin, I think this makes a lot of sense. If you're a desktop person, I think this makes a lot of sense, depending on where you are, or a network admin person. I think it makes a lot of sense. I know some guys who are one-man armies in their organizations. They usually work at clinics, or they usually work at like insurance companies and stuff like that, small insurance companies and healthcare organizations. They don't actually have a whole massive team like maybe some of these Fortune 100, Fortune 500 enterprises. And so a lot of times they get tasked with a lot of responsibilities that typically is made for 2, 3, and 4 people. And so one man may have to do all the back end work. And so, yeah, I think Python, that's been a hot language, as of late. It can't hurt you to know it. Java is a little bit up to scale, though. I think if you know Java, man, you're probably playing in a different ballpark than somebody who knows PHP and Ruby. That's just my opinion. I think that Ruby, PHP, and Python make a lot of sense. But if you know Java, you're probably not. You're probably in the wrong field at that point. I think you should be looking for something that's more dedicated to being a Java developer. All right, number 2 is front-end development. There is more employee demand for front-end developers compared to back-end developers, according to Upwork. While back-end developers create the behind-the-scenes portions of a website or app, front-end developers build the portions of the website or app that the user sees and interacts with. These front-end IT professionals use web languages like CSS and HTML that enable users to access and interact with the site or application. Additional skills required by front-end developers include help create the user interface, website navigation, and where images and content should go. I'm somewhat baffled by this, because why not just get a whole entire web developer? Or why not just be a whole web developer? Front end development? No, I think you should know the front end and the back end. It's your responsibility anyways, right? At the end of the day. So if you're going to be a front end developer, then you probably have to own the whole entire stack at the end of the day. I think that makes a lot more sense to own the whole stack for yourself. Or at least delegate that next task to like an intern or something like that. I think just being a front end development person or having that one skill set but not having the other skill set, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should own the whole stack. That's just my opinion, though. All right, last one. Number 1, full stack development. The most in-demand IT skills in 2023 revolve around full stack developers who can develop both client and server software. These developers understand how to build both the front end and back end of a website, while also coding languages like JavaScript, SQL, and Python. Full stack developers can also test sites as well as software to ensure both are working properly. Full stack developers are highly trained professionals who know how to program and manage a database, browser, and server. Overall, a full stack developer is associated with the creation of an application from start to finish, while ensuring efficiency and reliability. This is true. Okay, this is true. I work with a lot of full stack developers on the cloud side, and I can tell you, companies who offer services such as like healthcare insurance or car insurance and different sort of financial assurances like that, they are in charge of the full stack. Now, some of the other responsibilities may be delegated out, auditors and risk analysts and risk advisors and things like that. I think that stuff gets kind of delegated out down the chain, but I do think a full stack developer does make a lot of sense at being number 1, mostly because a lot of companies are trying to push their services across multiple platforms, desktop, mobile, even now, Apple smartwatch. Google Wear OS or Google Smartwatch now, Fitbit, things like that. They're trying to cross as many platforms as possible or make their platforms agnostic across the stack. And so being a full stack development person makes a lot of sense, or having that skill set makes a lot of sense in 2023, because a lot of companies are trying to offer more services at the front end. So I've seen it change over time. You used to have full stack development teams. Now it's just kind of narrowed down to one person or one or two people. Mostly because the tools have changed. I think AWS and Microsoft Azure have played a significant role in really streamlining a lot of the processes and the tools for making them available to develop on. But I do think that this is true. Number one, as a full stack developer, I think that's very critical. I think that's very critical. Let me drop the link in the chat, man, see if anybody wants to come up and really discuss some of this. Let me see. Let's see what we can see. Yeah, it's a great time to get into IT right now, despite all of the news that has been brought up about tech layoffs and the tech apocalypse and stuff like that. Now is a great time to get in, man. I wish I was just now getting into IT or getting into the tech field, for the first time, because there's so many areas that I would like to get into that I did not get into when I was younger. Autonomous vehicles and what do you call it? Autonomous vehicles and robotics and stuff like that. I wish I got, that sort of exposure when I was younger, John Hightower, what's going on? John, can you hear me? All right, maybe nobody else can hear me. Might be having some technical difficulties here.
Let me unmute, my bad.
Oh, cool.
That was me. I'm PBO. That's my real name.
Okay.
It's all good, Professor Black Ops. You doing all right, man?
I'm good, Prof. What's going on, man?
Just trying to get motivated. Great stream. So I just was going to put my 2 cents in there.
Okay. We got Complex in the building too.
Facts.
Yeah, I think the skill set for 2023, I don't think they're that far off. I think, I disagree with one or two areas, but I think overall, man, I think that they're pretty much on the money.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like you said, maybe 1 or 2 things on there.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's a great time to get in. All those people got laid off. Most of them got hired in 90 days or less. So, because there's really a shortage of talent. Silicon Valley was hogging all the talent with those crazy salaries. Now the banks can get some good people. The hospital can get good people. And we're with remote work now. That makes it a little easier now. I think they're driving down salaries a little bit, but
well, yeah. And I agree with you, man. I think that my inbox has been full for the last 2 or 3 weeks. We're like, hey, do you know anybody who can do this? Do you know anybody who can do that? And I'm like, man, listen, the manosphere doesn't even understand. the market is buzzing right now. The market is buzzing crazy.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. My inbox is blowing up. Like you said, they hit on the top 10. I do compliance and assurance. That wasn't even hit. I think that's a hidden gem. There's probably 10 other gems that wasn't even in there. Go ahead, Complex, jump on in there, bud.
Oh shit, my bad. I'm sorry, I was just checking my sound.
Okay.
Professor Black Ops.
Yep. This is me, man.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Wow, man, just chiming in, just backing up what Mike said. Like I said, there's 10 other hidden gems that wasn't even on there. Once again, I do compliance and assurance. for federal and big state clients. Hidden gem, man, easy 6 figures. I just do paperwork all day.
Oh man, I wish that's what I could do.
So,
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, Mike? Hey,
I'm chilling, bro. Chilling.
Hey man, I appreciate this live stream, bro.
Oh.
Mike, what's your take on IoT? I think I saw that kind of missing.
Well, IoT is a component, right? Internet of Things, right? It's a component, right, of the larger scale infrastructure itself. So from a skill set standpoint, IoT is not really a skill, but it's more of a component of the
Sort of like
the tech
a area of industry.
Yeah,
it's a function. It's a functional piece of a larger platform, right? So IoT, PoE, Power over Ethernet. You know, these are sort of like hardware assets, right? But you know, when you're talking about skill sets, it's okay. So how do I make that work, right? If it was me, I would say that having having a electronics background would make a lot more sense because you need to place these sensors inside their chassis, right?
This is why I was asking you that, Mike. I came into this in a very unconventional way, right? But based on your analysis, how you're speaking, that's why I wanted to bring IoT into the conversation. We did that primer maybe like about 8 or 9 months ago. It was really like a deep dive. Y'all can dig into the archives if you want to check that out. But with regards to this conversation, I just wanted to see where IoT kind of fell into the picture, because I came into it in a very unconventional way, right? So I like my position on it would be very sort of an outlier, right? But with regards to how you're speaking on this and the list, right? Like I was just curious where IoT fell in that.
Yeah, that's you know, it's an interesting question because it's a somewhat agnostic component to larger systems. And so if you're talking about like IoT has to connect to something, it should be seen as a network device because it's Internet of Things. But they don't really look at it that way. I look at it that way because I understand IoT by itself doesn't do anything.
Right.
It doesn't have any connectivity. And so it needs to connect to something larger. So I think that from a skill set standpoint, I think that having an electronics background makes sense. And having a network.
I can totally understand that. I can understand that position. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that having a network literacy makes a lot of sense because you have to understand IPv6 addressing, right?
Yep.
Because you're going to be using IPv6.
So do you put IoT with the cloud?
Yeah,
I'm with you. I put those together. So, and like you said, cloud is super hot, but like you said, cloud is more of a byproduct what you use. When I spin up servers, I put them in the cloud, right? If I spin up a database, I put it in the cloud, right? So those separate skill sets that use the cloud. So,
right, and that's kind of where I wanted to kind of get you guys' take on this, right? Because IoT is sort of like a fuzzy science type of thing, right? It's not something that you hear a whole lot about. However, unbeknownst to people, they use it more so than they think.
Yeah, but I think this is gonna sound crazy, and no disrespect. You got some IoT, I think, is a niche, and it's gonna be embedded. So most people are gonna use it without using it, even more than programming and UX. Right. So when you're driving down a car,
no disrespect there. I mean, that's actually how I see it. It's very benign.
Right. So like when people are driving their Tesla, it's doing artificial intelligence, it's picking out objects, it's sending them up to the cloud. But most people don't know that, right? Their Tesla is just driving down the street. If they're sleeping, right? It's just driving, right? So I think it's embedded as a niche. Now, granted, if you're in that niche, you make a ton of money. I just think that's just such a high level niche.
Yeah, it's really early in the market phase for IoT right now. It's kind of ambiguous. People don't really know how to identify it or really find a place for it, and so it kind of gets lost in it. But it's a major component of a larger piece of infrastructure.
One other question, Mike, because
yes,
given that you just said that, so that kind of leads me to ask, do you think, and these are my suspicions, right? Because I've actually toyed around with it, right? This is kind of why I'm asking these questions. Do you think AI and IoT have sort of like an intrinsic relationship to each other?
Yeah, because something has to drive it, right? To make decisions.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and speak on it.
Yeah, something has to drive it to make these decisions. And so I think AI would just be a formal front end component of IoT itself, whatever the IoT device is doing, whether it's for example, I saw the other day in one of the publications, they had IoT fire hydrants. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about that. An IoT fire hydrant, a firefighter or a public works, actually a public works person who handles water can come up to a fire hydrant with a phone, a smartphone or a tablet and can actually tap it with NFC, and it would actually give readings as to what the pressure levels are and all these other data that it seems to gather for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, I think kids was opening them up, man. When I was younger, people were opening up the tap them. So you would open up a fire and they would hope it would get water, right? So I think with IoT, they would know, like you said, this water hydrant's good, this pressure. They could go to a hydrant and say, somebody's messing with this one. I need to find the next one. And, it'd probably bring up the Google map and show them the closest one, with the pressure. So.
And Mike, we talked about this in the past, and this is kind of why I wanted to kind of pick your guys' brains on this, because I've always kind of felt that AI and IoT was sort of like intrinsic to each other. Remember, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was talking about, we were talking about ChatGPT, for example. And I said, somebody asked a question about, have we messed with it? And I said, well, I kind of toyed with it with regards to heat mapping, right? For the scooter rentals and stuff, right? So getting AI's take on, okay, if I say, okay, I'm getting a ton of rentals here, some rentals here, the rentals that get picked up here, they typically go over here, these go this way. And if I put scooters over here, they get stolen, right? And then I give them the map. And I say, what would you say is a good sort of release point map to utilize the data I gave you to minimize loss, right? While still meanwhile covering what are, say, like heavy use areas, right? Heavy rental areas and stuff. So I find that AI is very much tied in and intrinsic to IoT. And so that's why I wanted to kind of, pick your guys' brains and see what you guys thought about it. Because I did not hear IoT there. However, it's ever present. Professor Black Ops even brought up Tesla, for example. So one of your biggest technological success stories of this time, Tesla, for example, right, is heavily powered by IoT.
Well, the thing here is Tesla is more considered to be an autonomous vehicle because the purpose of the device is to roll, right? It's not stationary, right? Yeah. And so it would not be considered IoT, but it falls in that same category of devices, right?
No, Tesla. I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yeah. IoT is a component of Tesla. Not. I didn't mean to say it like that.
Yeah, because on a Tesla, the IoT component would be the cameras and whatnot, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a component. I didn't mean to, I misspoke. Yep.
I think you're starting to see a lot more these devices start to come on board, especially like your meters and stuff like that in people's houses now. They don't need to actually have a meter man come in and look at that stuff, man. Somebody could drive right down the street with a couple of sensors on the back of their vehicle and scan the whole entire neighborhood.
There you go. Yeah,
and grab all the meter levels without ever entering your house. So you could argue that dish TV, the components that are making that up now that deliver internet over it is Internet of Things. It is IoT at this point.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I'm gonna start talking about is Ring doorbell is doing mass surveillance.
Ring doubles as a mesh,
right? But it's mass surveillance out of such big concept. People don't understand it because rings are usually pointed outside. You walk past it, 50% of rings get a discount. It gets streams to your local sheriff's office. So you walking by somebody's house and your face is ending up at the sheriff's office, right? But that's definitely Internet of Things from a mass surveillance standpoint, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is true.
And two is, and I think, like you said, is when you talk about artificial intelligence, you have to get data and points. That's the Internet of Things. Are you driving, scanning it? Nest, somebody put Nest,
that's
all of that.
Literally what I use, PBO. I use Nest as drop points, and then those drop points then those points then create that heat map. That's
facts.
I know where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's feeding. So artificial intelligence, right? And before you get there, like let's talk machine learning, right? You need all those data points. Now, when you're talking about trucks and wind turbines, they're taking all those data points so they can say, after 10 years, this much humidity, this much bad weather, it's going to break. So we just need to change it, right? Yeah. So you're taking all that. And with stock markets, right? People try to outrun stock by saying this type of thing. And Walmart's good. If a hurricanes come, they know you buying Pop-Tarts, plywood, right? So they start shipping stuff. So people don't even realize what they figured out with the data points from the news. If a hurricane, what you gonna eat? Your power's gonna go out, so you're gonna need Pop-Tarts for the kids. You're gonna need some powdered milk.
Wait a minute. So they literally have correlated.
Yeah, Google it.
Sales to hurricanes.
Yeah, I promise you, Google it. Big Walmart. Walmart's a big vendor. So yeah, they know exactly when this hurricane hit at this level, your power gonna go out. You're gonna have plywood, Pop-Tarts. You're gonna need some puffs. Yeah. Because Pop-Tarts never go bad. You don't need to put a refrigerator. And kids love them.
True. They know.
Well, one of the things I had came across a couple of years ago, this is right around the height of the, I think it was like February 2020. I was at Stanley Black & Decker, and they were showing off their power tools being IoT enabled. And so what the justification for it was, if you have a work site where tools get stolen, the IoT factor in it, not only can you track it on a map, but you can disable it. You can geofence it. So if it leaves the work site, then it's no longer useful, right? And
that's
so the
IoT device on the actual Mike. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it literally works because the stuff works literally the same way. As the scooters, for example, right? I can trigger them on and off from my house, regardless if somebody stole it. I'm like, okay, well, unless I open it up for you to use it, it's a brick.
Yeah, and so that's what's happening with Stanley Black & Decker. Right. All of their power tools have GPS functionality, geofencing, and for the battery enabled ones, it can tell how much battery life is left and whether or not they need to swap out the battery. There's all sorts of data that it collects, and then it feeds back into the employer, and the employer can share it with insurance companies and so on and so forth. It's the whole entire platform.
Mike, but here's the thing, dude. This is why I was asking you the question. What you just said literally works the same way for my scooters, dude. It works like literally all things IoT. It's the same shit. You know what I'm saying? It's the fundamental thing, right? It's going to be like a thing where it can be remotely triggered on and off. I can get diagnostics. I can get battery levels, and I can also disable it. I can trigger an alarm on it, even if it has a speaker. I can also give an API to authorities to say, hey, that stolen unit's right there.
Yeah. And I think if you're, one of the big construction company contractors, I've seen, these junkies, they're always trying to steal these tools and then hawk them on the market. Hey man, you want a power drill? I'm like, hell no, I don't want that, get out of here. But, I think it's a really good time. To your point, you see IoT as a skill set, but we see it as a core function of the technology, right?
That's what I wanted to get clarity for the matter for this live stream, right? Is this a skill set, or is this more of a function? And then what we need to do is dig into the skill sets that drive the function, right? That's the clarity I wanted to get, because
it's the component.
that IoT is wide open for people.
It's a
This,
component.
I think the skill set
Okay.
everybody's mentioning this is data, how data is basically used, data analytics, data analysis, how data is basically used. And again, you talked of robotics and talked of machine learning, and the one skill that nobody ever talks about around that is math. It's a highly mathematical driven system, AI, all that, and that skill should be basically point and center, because you need that basic skill of statistics and linear algebra and all that in order to understand robotics, in order to understand machine learning, in order to understand, again, basic data analytics. Again, for instance, look at the Ohio derailment, the issue in Ohio, the train derailment.
Yep.
Do you know how many data analytics packages had to go in there, from the logistics, knowing the train, to the health side, knowing who's affected, to the spillage, to the health, the environmental analytics, to there's so many, even the insurance had to do analytics to understand how these individuals will be insured, or so the data part of it, to even recreate the whole issue, the whole scenario, you have to use data too to recreate how that happened, why it happened, all that. So data, that part, again, that skill set should also be a reference. That knowing how to use that, how to wrangle that data, knowing how to tell a story from that data, knowing how mathematics applies to that data. That is a skill set I believe right now is in high demand, real high demand. So again, I think that skill wasn't mentioned fully. Again, it might be part of the scripting, but it wasn't mentioned fully in terms of knowing how to utilize data, knowing how to utilize mathematics and all that. You know, that again, everybody, again, because of there's so low amount of people in that field, essentially in our community,
But
that skill set should be mentioned more and more.
yeah, but now you're talking about big data science, data analytics.
Data analytics, data, skill, skill.
I think that's kind of, I think data science has been blown out of proportion from an organization and industry standpoint, because they'll say, oh, we need data scientists, but nobody ever says, we need security scientists, right? It kind of falls in the same realm, right, of technology. But I guess my overarching point here is that I think data science is a larger makeup of who your team is, right? Data analysts, data engineers, data architects, data governance people. I think you need all of these people to make up a data science entity.
Yes. No, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
one person doesn't make up data science.
No.
I think that because you never say that about security researchers, right? Security researchers are just that, right? They're not security scientists, right? And so,
Mike, just for clarity, you and engineering cannabis could maybe elaborate. So when you say sort of like, okay, there's not like necessarily like one. We were just speaking IoT for a minute, right? Because that's kind of like my venue, right? But let's talk data science for a minute. What would be the different venues that would make up data science?
Go ahead.
That's a loaded question. Again,
I didn't mean to make it a loaded question. I thought I was asking a simple one.
It's not simple, because again, data science.
It's not simple. Okay, no.
Data science, because data science right now, it's even the term data science is even broken down into. You have machine learning engineer, you have vision engineer, you have deep learning engineers. It's broken down into different. So data science right now is growing, and the part that Mike was talking about having data engineers is, in order to even go into the data science part, you need the other parts to be built, the infrastructure. So for instance, in order for you to even do data science, you need to know where the data is, where it's housed, how to access it. So you need data engineers to build pipelines to store that data so you can have accessibility, so you can then do some stuff in there.
So
you need
cannabis. Just
sure.
a quick question. So when Elon Musk acquired Twitter finally, right?
Yeah.
And then he brought Tesla engineers over to Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that? So really the engineering portion is agnostic?
What he did, I won't say it's agnostic. I think he just wanted to improve on it, or he just wanted to basically utilize some of the resources he had and to just aid in Twitter.
Okay.
It wasn't, again, data. There's one thing I'll say is this: data science. The one good thing about data science, it's a skill that it's basically transferable. So someone from a data scientist from Twitter can go into Tesla and work.
Right.
And
That's kind of what I was alluding
yes,
to, right? You can
same
kind of
thing.
go from
Same thing,
venue
yeah.
to venue.
Because again, you're just dealing with data.
Got it.
And
Okay.
you're
Continue.
dealing with, again, I've worked in different sectors. I've worked in the health sector. I've worked in the cannabis. I'm currently working in government. I've worked in different sectors. And one thing I'll say is the data is always the same. The data engineer, how to wrangle it, how to clean it, how to do it's always going to be the same. The algorithms don't change either. The algorithms are the same mathematics. Mathematics hasn't changed for decades.
Got it.
So the math doesn't change. But what changes is the domain knowledge. So again, Tesla, they do cars and Twitter, but again, going in there and saying, okay, I just need to understand what you're doing in terms of the people. Can you give me, that's why they work together. They work with the Twitter because they have domain knowledge. And they say, okay, you have domain knowledge. I still have the expertise on how data works. I just need you to catch me up on what's going on in terms of Twitter. And then we just apply the same mathematical equations and same stuff and carry on. But the most important part is the domain knowledge. And once you have that down, everything basically becomes the same. It's math and data. It's nothing unique. It's just math and data.
I think institutional knowledge plays a significant role too.
Yeah, domain. That's domain.
Yeah,
domain knowledge.
Yep, institutional
that
and
plays
industry.
a huge part. Yeah,
so you have a better understanding when you walk into a healthcare organization, what you're looking for, and how would you actually tackle each and every data set.
That's why they say nurses when I recommend nurses go into the health data side is because they know the health side of it. They know what the functions are, how the hospital or how the healthcare system works. And learning some math around it makes them a very great data analyst in terms of the health side. So knowing actually understanding that domain knowledge and then learning a lot of the data side makes you very, very, very strong as a data scientist.
Yeah, whether you work for CVS or Walgreens, they both do the same exact thing. It's just two different organizations.
Just learn the domain. That's why I know truckers who understand the trucking side. Then they learn some analytical part. Then they can become a logistics specialist because they understand some logistics. Again, if I wanted to understand how recreate an accident in terms of a vehicle, an accident happens, I'll need to talk to this trucker who has experience in an accident. How fast does it usually go, or get that knowledge from a trucker? Then I apply my analysis in terms of mathematical experience in it, and then I get a full picture. But imagine if a trucker actually knows how to do this analytical part quickly, they can replace me quickly because they have the domain knowledge and they understand the mathematical side on it. They can do my job quicker than me.
Let me ask you this, and I'll go ahead and mute up. I know I just see Consigliere Nagone has come onto the panel, so I want him to speak. What would you say is the tree? Because you mentioned domain knowledge. So what's above domain knowledge? Is there anything below domain knowledge? What's the tree?
I think domain knowledge is the most powerful part because you're understanding the business process. You're understanding how the business works. Again, if, for instance, in cybersecurity, there are data scientists in cybersecurity.
Yes.
In order for me, if I'm trying to go into cybersecurity, I gotta understand what the whole cybersecurity is and what am I protecting, malware. I need to understand all that.
Right.
Then I can say, okay, how are they attacking this? Then creating algorithms under that. But again, the domain knowledge is needed. So if I'm going into a new process in a new business, I usually assign myself 3 to 4 months just to understand the domain.
Mhm.
Then once I understand the domain, then I can say, okay, my algorithms and mathematical equations are easy at that point because I know the domain knowledge. So the domain knowledge is the most powerful part.
Yeah.
If you get that, then everything becomes easy. That's why I always say any industry in data science is applicable in any industry. As long as you understand that domain knowledge, I can teach you any mathematical skills that you can then transfer it easily, quickly. But understand that domain knowledge and you're good to go.
Go ahead, Prof.
Oh yeah, he's right. And even in cybersecurity, my specialty is tax. So when I go on to do cybersecurity, it's called IRS Pub 1075. That's how the IRS wants you to secure a system. It has to be done a certain way. Like engineering cannabis, I make the money I make because I come in and say, I'm an IRS SME and no cybersecurity. So let me look at your architecture. Let me look at your network. Let me make sure you're doing encryption. But all of that sits on top of the domain knowledge because I'm old and been in the game for a while. So anything you do, the more domain knowledge. Now I can go in, I can secure any infrastructure, but I understand the intricacies of the IRS. So you get paid a certain level to know that domain knowledge. So just tell them what AI and ME said.
Yeah. That's engineering cannabis. But yeah, let me jump into this real quick because I got this question from somebody. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's right here. Yeah, so someone was asking me about the difference between like desktop support versus desktop engineering. They didn't know what desktop engineering was. And so desktop support is the end user piece, how you engage clients, customers, etc. The desktop engineering piece is that sysadmin aspect of how they design Windows platforms for the desktop. And so all they focus on is imaging, the design of the image, what applications get accessed with it, what security controls get applied to it, what your role is going to be in Active Directory. These sort of things are what desktop engineering is really focused on. And so now desktop engineering is picking up on VMware because they have to develop and spin up VMs of desktop images and stuff like that for, people who are not on American soil, for that matter, right? Remote users, people who are in Ireland or in the EU. You got to make sure that this data resides back in the United States because you don't want that data leaving the United States. Now they can have access to it, but they can't actually take it anywhere. And so you're trying to protect the biggest asset of any company, which is data right now. They can't afford to lose that. And so that's kind of the point here. And so to answer the question of this person, desktop support is not really a bad job. I know a lot of guys who are doing desktop support and killing it out here because, they don't just work on desktops. They're doing laptops. They're doing anything that's network connected. They mess with it. And they're in charge of it. iPad deployments. I remember back in the day, man, I had a big trash barrel full of BlackBerries because, the iPhone had came out, man. We had to manage where are all these BlackBerries. We had to manage all of this stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
My fault. Just chiming on what you said is I work for a large state agency. We had 40,000 laptops, 20,000 phones, and just keeping track of that alone from an inventory aspect as part of, like you said, desktop is. And the first part of security is you got to know your inventory. So keeping track of that stuff is a monster.
Yeah, asset man. You'll be surprised how many companies lose assets on a regular basis. I remember a company, MacBooks, they didn't have any way of tracing MacBooks because they didn't snap into Active Directory. It's a Mac.
Facts.
Who knew how to manage it? No one knew how to manage it, but it was a cool thing. If you had a Mac, everybody who considers themselves to be a programmer or a developer has to have a Mac for whatever reason. I've never been fond of Macs at all, but these guys think that, in order for me to feel good, I got to have a Mac. And that's the thing. But we had no way of controlling where these Macs were going and what they were doing with these Macs, and whether or not the Mac had malware, and whether or not they were, taking data, intellectual property from the Mac to GitHub or somewhere like that. We didn't have any way of managing that type of stuff. And so desktop support doesn't have to be this grueling task, this sort of muck bucket, muck raking sort of job, man. There's a lot of guys I know, man, they love desktop support, man. They be up in that comm closet, man, building workstations by themselves, man, just chilling. A lot of times. So
and like you said, I think it's levels to that, right? Even in the desktop, there's level 1, tier 1, tier 3. So depending on what you do, I know the guy that managed the, desktop. He made a lot of money because, like you said, is you got to keep track of them. Now you got DLP, data loss prevention. Now you got MDM, so people can have half of their Mac personal and half their Mac business, so we can just blow out the business size. But you got to architect all that stuff to work right? It's not easy off the bat. Giving it back to you, Mike.
Yeah, no, definitely. And definitely co-signing what you're saying. It's just MDM, mobile device management. How do you manage all these iPads? How do you manage all these Windows desktops? How do you manage all these iPhones? How do you manage all these Chromebooks now? Chromebooks are, in the school, in the schools now, because it's a cost-effective choice when compared to Windows. You have to buy a Windows license. And so what are you going to do with all these these sort of various devices that's inside of an organization that need to be properly managed? What do you do when there's a virus attack or a malware attack or something like that, or ransomware? How do you manage 40,000 desktops, like Prof was saying, when there's a malware or a ransomware attack against them? Are you prepared to be a part of that that kill chain?
Mike, I was going to ask you, would you say that this is a position of choice for the passport, bro? No, that is a fucking joke.
Shout out to that.
Yeah. So let me just scroll down this real quick. It says 8 years plus of experience. Ignore that. Whoever wrote that, I don't know. It could be ChatGPT for all we know. Leads IT desk side staff with technical support or desktop, laptop computers, applications, printers, and related technologies. Again, we mentioned this earlier. High level role to lead, coordinate, and assist the desktop support technicians manage the day-to-day activities of the support technicians and provide technical support, training, and guidance to staff. Assume duties as a desktop support technician when assigned. And so you're client facing is the really important aspect. So that means, you don't necessarily have to wear a suit and tie, but you definitely got to be decent, Here's another tip. With COVID, I strongly recommend wearing gloves, rubber gloves, because you don't want to be touching people's devices. I can't tell you how many times I used to work for a life science company, and they used to run HIV tests on animals. Okay. And you don't know where that device came from. Okay. There's a lot of hair and stuff on there.
Dude, did you say HIV test on animals?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was like 2000. Yeah, they do a lot of tests on animals.
Yeah, let me chime in, Mike. I actually met the brother, which he got paid a lot. He burned the animals. I was like, dude, but they paid him a lot of money. No, I worked for a Fortune 500 pharmaceutical companies. Before you get to chimpanzees, they running rats, mice, then you get to chimps. It's a whole big infrastructure from cybersecurity and physical security. And I worked in a place, they had a sign on the door that if something got loose, like a virus in there, they would lock you in.
Yeah.
Because they're working on stuff there's no cure for.
Yep.
So now go ahead, Mike. Now I worked for a Fortune pharmaceutical company for 4 years, and I watched them inject rats. Because I actually was working on tier 1. I was delivering Macs and PCs to the lab technicians and the researchers.
Yep. Responsibilities, and excellent analytical and problem-solving skills. Demonstrable experience in managing a successful team of support technicians and successful completion of computer hardware and current desktop support technician certifications. you're basically the lead on all of this. You know, you're the go-to guy. You're short of a managerial title. At this point. And so desktop support managers, it's not really a title anymore. You usually are IT manager or you're not. And so in this role, you're kind of a lead person. Excellent customer service skills, desk side support management, customer relationship management, vendor relationship management, project management, SLA management, including incident, problem, configuration, service requests, etc. Review with the delivery manager. So you're interfacing with with another group of people, maybe some release people. Periodic reviews with customers and vendors. That means you're dealing with Lenovo, Dell, whoever it is. MIS and reporting need to have knowledge and get below task carried out by country managed full-time or dispatch engineers at various locations in the region. So this is probably like the DMV or something when they say a region. So they're covering like 3 areas.
Hey, Mike, I'm gonna go ahead and drop down, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and listen in, but I gotta get dinner ready.
All right, man.
All right, appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Ensuring that SLAs are met, that quality targets are reached and maintained, assist staff with installation, configuration, and ongoing usability of computers and peripherals with established standards and guidelines, work with vendor support contracts to resolve technical support problems, works with service desks and RDS as appropriate to determine and resolve problems received from clients. Performs upgrades as directed to ensure the longevity of equipment, keep track of requests and make sure they are implemented and planned. Participate in incident handling concerning desktop changes. And they want you to know Windows 7, Vista, XP 2000. I'll be honest, man, I don't know who wrote this, but you know, Novell E-directory, Novell.
That's got to be old. Is that new, Mike?
I don't. Someone sent it to me, but they were asking about it, and so a lot of times you want to take it with a grain of salt. You don't always want to look at it as the truth, because there's a lot of fluff gets added to a lot of these job descriptions, and so you don't want to be beholden to it. You don't want to try to tailor your resume to it because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. No one's using Windows 2000 right now. No one's using Windows 2003. Those things have been deprecated a long time ago. That's tech debt. No one wants to hold on to that. And many organizations can't hold on to it because they have to actually justify what it is that they're doing. It's an acceptable risk. At this point.
There's no security patches for those. So security be like, you can't run those. There's no patching.
Yeah.
For 2003, like you said, that's end of life. So you can't use it.
Yeah, and maybe there might be some data on there that might cost you your life.
True. That's a big fine from my area. Like you can't use that. But now, let me just chiming in on that. There was like you said, they didn't put out, but you got OUs you got to handle as desktop. What's security going in there? How it's getting hardened? I'm adding pressure to you because I'm saying you need to harden the laptop this way. So we got to work together and test it to make sure we can roll it out to 30,000 people without breaking stuff. So I work with desktop a lot. They don't like me a lot, but
yeah.
There's security because, you know, we got to work. I have security requirements. He has operational requirements, right? We got to marry those together to give the organization what they need, right? So that's security and desktop working together.
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, Jelani?
Hey, how's it going, man? This Red Pill Finance. I had changed my name the other day. So if you ever see me in the chat, you're going to see me as Spawn the Programmer, bro.
Okay.
We got you.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah, I got a question. So like,
sir.
I got an interview tomorrow.
And
you know, over the past, I say like last month, I actually had like 2 interviews and like me personally, like they didn't really go too well. So I want to get y'all thoughts on like, what should I actually do to land that job?
What are you trying to land? My fault, Mike. What are you trying to land?
Yeah,
it's a front-end web developer.
Where's your portfolio?
With my portfolio, I mean, what, you want me to give it to you?
No, not to me. Do you have one?
Oh yeah, I got one. Yeah, I got some work, you know what I'm saying?
So have they seen it first?
I don't know. I just got an email today. She said she wanted to talk to me on the phone tomorrow, so I guess it's like a phone interview.
Phone screening. So you want to make sure you get them that portfolio as soon as possible, right? Like after you get off of this Zoom call, right?
No, I think I applied on LinkedIn, so I think they should already have it.
Don't think.
No,
You need to
don't
make
think.
sure they have it. Man.
Don't assume. Don't assume.
What front end skills are you? What tools are you using on the front end?
React, React.js, you know, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all that.
So what questions did they ask you in previous interviews that you think you didn't do well in?
If I can remember, I can't really it was probably like 2 weeks ago I had this interview, so I can't really put it like.
Was it a programming question or was it just a social behavioral questions?
I think one question that was asked, I'll say for like the 2 interviews, well, how would you fit at this company?
Yeah, you gotta
That's the
meld yourself. Yeah, you got the cultural fit, man. You gotta meld yourself in that company. You need to look up the person that's going to interview. A lot of times their name in there. Go to their LinkedIn, go to their Facebook, and just see. You can get a beat on their personality. I had an interview with an AWS. His bio in LinkedIn said he's a sumo manager because he's super tough, right? So now I know how to talk to him because he's old school, right? Go ahead, Mike. Throw your 2 cents in.
And I'll say take a note on paper each time you go there. And each time they ask you questions, make sure you write them down so you can know, again, usually when I go to interviews, when I know I don't have the answers to the questions, I write it down or write the whole question down. So I can go back and then review them and say, okay, I know I don't, again, so when I was doing interviews and they asked me a mathematical equation, I'm like, oh, I have no clue on how to do this. And I go back, I'll tell them, look, I'm writing these questions down because I want to review them and see where I'm lacking. Then I go back and review those questions and see, okay, I was lacking in here and here and here. So in the next interview, and most times in most interviews, it's a repeatable pattern. And again, if it's based on your skill set, it's going to be a repeatable pattern on what kind of questions they ask, except for the behavioral one. But mostly in the skill set, it's normally repeatable because they normally ask you almost the same set of questions, maybe differently, but it's almost repeatable. But knowing what questions they asked and knowing where maybe you're lacking a skill there or there, then you can go back and say, okay, I need to learn this skill again. That will be a more helpful part of it. So if any future interviews, you will be more ready to answer any questions.
Yeah, because like usually when I went to the interview, I'll probably talk to like the HR and they'll just pass me along to somebody else. So I wouldn't necessarily be able to do research on that person because, you know, I just got passed along to somebody else.
Yeah, so is it a contracting firm? Is it a staffing firm?
No, it's not. What do you mean as far as like the company?
Yeah, whoever you're doing an interview with.
Oh no, like it's not a firm from what I know of.
Okay, so here's how I would approach this. Figure out what the organization is, what exactly it is that they do. Go to their mission page. That kind of gives you a quick analysis on who they are and what they really stand for, values wise. And you have to see if your values align with theirs. And if your values don't align with theirs, then it's almost guaranteed it's never gonna work 9 times out of 10. And so I would look at it. I would start from there, but I would also make sure that I'm speaking to what I know and what I'm capable of doing and not what I don't know. You know, you don't ever want to be in a situation where you say, I don't know. And you don't want to ever be in a situation where you're bullshitting your way through it because they can determine that, right? They go through interviews on a regular basis, right? And so you want to try to get that portfolio up, even if it's just one job. Explain to them that one website that you developed and how you developed it. What were the most challenging things for you? What did you really like about it? And what did you learn from it? Right? Those are the 3 things that you have to really break down. You got about 5 or 10 minutes to really break that down to seal the deal.
Okay, so you'll say like just focus on my strong points and like just pick one of the project that I feel like is really good and just go deep down and just give them a deep dive of like the intricacies of the whole web page.
Yeah, because the first thing they're going to ask is they're going to explain to you what the company is, but then when they pitch it back to you, they're going to say, okay, tell me about yourself. You know, I'm Jelani, I'm from the Manosphere, the gynocracy, you know, the matriarchy, the Bilderberg, you know,
Hoes ain't loyal. Hoes ain't loyal.
Yeah. So no, but they're gonna pitch it back to you. Then they're gonna ask this, you know, tell me about yourself. How did you get into web development? Where did you start from? Where did you go to school? How, you know, what were the sources that you used? You know, how did you get to this point? And then you can walk into your portfolio, that one project that you worked on recently, or that one project you worked on before, where you can say, this is the website I worked on, here's the URL, let's pull it up here, let's share my screen, right? And then they'll look at that and be like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. How did you get that? How did you get the UX and the UI functioning down to where it is right now, right? User experience and user interface, right? You're explaining it to them, and you're also using the right jargon, right? And you're covering your bases in these areas, and you're making sure, like, oh yeah, the login, we use two-factor, we use not two-factor, Google Authenticator, right, to log in, something like that, something really complex. It's like, oh shit, stand back, this nigga's ill, right? So that's kind of sort of things that they're looking for. They're looking for the wow factor. What did Jelani do? Let me add these people. What did Jelani do before he got here? Who is he, and how does he fit in with this company, the cultural fit? That's what they're looking for. Now, typically companies shouldn't be asking about cultural fits in 2023. That's kind of like a big no-no in terms of DEI. You really don't want to be, if you're a hiring manager, you really don't want to be asking these questions. If you're HR, you don't want to be asking these questions either. They kind of got a good idea based on how you talk and how you present yourself, whether or not you're you're a good fit for the organization. That being said, what I would say additionally is if it's a Zoom interview or a webcam based interview, you definitely want to dress up. It's not the end of the world if you put on a dress shirt and a tie and a blazer. They can't see anything below your waist anyway, so you can have jeans on, so it's not that big of a deal. But you definitely want to, from the waist up, you definitely want to be tight in your presentation.
Okay, for sure, man. I got one more last question, and then I'm gonna let everybody else that just hopped on talk their spill. So, when I came to tech, I kind of wanted to be a freelancer, right? But at the same time, I also wanted to gain some experience as far as maybe work for a few years to hop into freelance thing. But now I'm kind of looking at it. I know you were just talking about freelance and all the jobs that you were just describing, and it's kind of over the past few weeks, I just been kind of feeling overwhelmed with all right, so why not just start with an end goal in mind and get into freelancing? So what would be your thoughts on that? Because me personally, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I don't got no problem working a job, or maybe I can just freelance on the side. So maybe you can give me some advice on that.
Let me go first.
Yeah,
let me go. Yeah, I'm the oldest. My thing is, and I'm old school, so take me with a grain of salt, is I freelance all the time, but I got my basic skills from working a W-2. Because when you freelance, I make money on Upworks. You're bidding with people around the world. You having a problem separating yourself on a W-2 job. When you get on Upworks, I'm bidding against people in Nigeria, Russia. So your skill set has to be on another level. So that's why I always tell people, go work for a company, get your skill set before you get into freelance. Because if you struggling to get W-2, I promise you, and when you pay that extra money in Upworks, you can do it. They show you what people are charging. I do Oracle. Oracle's a bag. People in Nigeria and Russia was doing that stuff for $15 an hour. I don't open up my laptop for that.
Yeah.
So when you freelance, you got to understand, when you been against people in India and Pakistan, the dollar's so strong, they do shit for $15, $20. I'm like, dude, I don't open up my laptop for that. I just think you need to get get your skills up in a regular job, then get into the freelance world. But I'm the oldest guy on here. I'll let everybody else chime in. Go ahead.
I think you answered the question. You stated, can you freelance at the same time work? And that's what I think will be. If you want to freelance, you can get a W-2 job as you're building your skill and confidence in the W-2 job. You can then at the same time on the side freelance, but knowing the time dedication should also be in a part of that equation. So you can do both at the same time. Nothing stops you from that. But understanding the time dedication for both should be also be present in whatever you're doing. So again, you can do both, but just understand that, again, your goal at the end of the day is to develop your skills to the point where you can either leave one or the other. So that should be the goal and focus, the developing your skills to know which one is more profitable and which one you can go to. So you can do both, but again, make sure you have that goal in mind at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah, and both of them brothers, how you doing, Mike's first off? And shout out to everybody that's up here. Salute to you guys. Yeah. So what I was gonna do is just kind of add on the PBO because he hit it right on the head or whatever. You bidding against a whole bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? And so this is where your experience is gonna shine and gonna help you win those contracts like on Upwork. You have to have a portfolio. I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying they want to know that you can actually do the work in the time period that they designate. You know what I'm saying? So you want to have those skills highlighted on your profile as well as work that you've done in the past, and that'll help them make the decision. Because as soon as you put up I don't know if you've ever been on the other side of hiring people on Upwork, which anybody can do. All you need is an account, a verified account. You can put a bid out there and you'll see 100 and something, not 100, not the bid, but you could put some work out there and you'll see like 100 and something bids on that one job that you posted out there. And so you're competing with all those people. And then it's also categorized by the people that have done previous work as well. They'll because they have reviews and all that stuff already on their account. So if you're just getting started, you got to build up their portfolio, and you got to, so it might be best to do both W-2 as well as that way you can get the experience as well as, building up your account for, that consulting work. So just to add a little bit to it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I can't work as fast as somebody that got like way more experience than me, you feel me? So it gets to a point where it's like, would that even be worth it, me competing with other people when they can build a website like way faster than me? They know more languages and all that. So that's a good aspect.
You gotta charge cheaper, right? If you slower and you're gonna take longer, right, then you gotta charge cheaper, right? There's a thing between speed, how much you know, and how much you're gonna charge.
Are you a junior? Do you consider
I'm a
yourself
junior? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 35, 45, $45, $47 an hour makes a lot of sense in the junior perspective.
He ain't gonna get close to that on Upwork, Mike. I'm telling you, Nigeria and Russia, they be charging $15 an hour because the dollar's so strong.
No, I thought this was for a corporate entity role. I didn't know that this was for Upwork.
Oh, my fault. I'm thinking Upwork. I could be wrong. My bad.
Yeah, I thought this was for a corporate role. Yeah, no, I don't know where you are, but I know on the East Coast, 40 for junior is not uncommon. I know some of our junior developers are around 35 to 40, but they get all the bennies too. They get all the time off, they get all the access to master's degree being paid for and stuff like that. So certifications, they get access to all the bennies, so that kind of balances off of them.
And two is the big part, and I'm sure Mike gonna get to it. I cut him off. Is when you work for a W-2, if you stuck, I get to go talk to the senior dude and pick his brain. If you Upwork by your stuff, you stuck. So when I was a junior, you got a team, right? So if I'm the junior and Mike the senior, I come to Mike. Mike, I'm having problems. I'm doing this object. I'm trying to go through a list. What's the best way? Then a lot of times when you work, that's why I like working for big companies. They tell you this is the standard. So they tell you how to do it and what's the best optimal way to work in their framework for your team on a company. So now you stealing all the company documentation and knowledge. So when I worked at DoD as a junior Oracle guy, man, I learned so much from this dude from Discover, being at a W-2 working for a big team. I was picking their brains because I'm taking all that knowledge, putting them in my bag to go to the next job, like Mike said, so I can make the big bag. But I'm picking these skills from these senior people on Upworks, and a lot of times you by yourself.
Yeah. They bring you in for a reason. Junior people are really easy to mold because they're green. And so you get to adapt to the company's institutional structures. And so you're easily malleable to it. And so there's a reason why they want you to be able to grow within the organization. They're trying to determine whether or not you're going to stick around long enough. Jelani, are you a millennial?
No, I'm Gen Z.
Oh, you're Gen, yeah. They already know you're going to be up out of there in the next 12 months anyway. So,
hey, that's the plan.
Yeah, that's typical. Go ahead,
gentlemen. Keep this in mind though as well. Fair exchange is no robbery, right? Like companies understand that younger employees are going to have a tenure of like, I don't know, sometimes as little as 6 months to sometimes a year. Like us old heads think about, I literally started out a help desk role in the year 2000, man. And I worked that cat for 2 years before I became a technician, but that's old school. Nowadays, like these cats are going in there digitally native, and companies expect that they're gonna, they're gonna start out junior, but they're going to want to bump in salary, or they're going to be peace out in like a good 6 months, 12 months. So what the companies will do is structure the workload that they have for the juniors to be the stuff that has a 6 month time frame, right? Like, and they know. So it's all good either way. Like you selling valuable skills that are of immediate use to the employer. So like don't even think about it as like getting over. Man, this is growing up, man. That's all that is.
Yeah, I see it as a fair transaction. You feel me?
It's not fair. It's not. I'm gonna disagree a little bit, Paul, because I actually talked to CIOs. We sat in a conference room. I'm like, okay, we gonna get this dude trained up in 6 months, because you gotta remember, we gotta train you how we want you to do it. Then when we get trained at 6 months, if you leave, right, we got some stuff out you, but because I've been in management. At 6 months, you really ready to deliver, but that might be the time you really leave, right? So yeah, so you got so management, they think about, because I actually talked with a boss, and because it was for the state never pays well, so we like, okay, we're gonna get this dude trained up in a year, and it's gonna be a 90% chance he gonna leave. So how do we keep the pipeline filled? How do we maybe promoting? That's why a lot of times they're like, we'll pay for your certification if you stay for 2 years, because they're trying to figure out how to lock you in a little longer.
Well, Black millennials and Black zennials have some of the shortest durations in tech. So a millennial, from what I've read, is and from what I've seen, is 18 months, anywhere between 16 to 18 months. Right. And then zennials, 9 months. And they're out of there. Facts. Sometimes they don't even come to work. I've seen it myself. They don't even come to work.
And they don't even call to tell you they quit. They
just out of there. They ghosting. They into ghosting, man.
Yeah, that's weird to me, because I'm old. I've been trained by the system, but we had that a couple of times. Man, like, dude, I don't think he's coming back. I'm trying to call him on the phone. I'm like, I'm gonna leave him alone, man. He grown, but
and let me tell you, like my dad, my actual father. Cat retired from a technical job. And I mean, this dude just turned 90 and he's still getting his pension. Like for us, there probably won't be Social Security. For millennials, man, they get fired yesterday or the day before yesterday and find out about it in an email. So it ain't nothing but a normal progression, because like when the company cares for you less, you care less for the company, period.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think everybody want like their employee to have like loyalty, but at the same time, we see with the tech layoffs, like you can go at any time. So I think my generation don't really even care about that, because like you said, we'll leave at an instant. Like I've seen that multiple times, But and another thing too, if there isn't any upward mobility at that company, or you're not trying to pay more, I mean, I gotta get it and go. Like you said, like you take whatever skill that you learn from them and you take it to somebody else that's trying to pay more.
See, that works in every other sector except cybersecurity. You don't want to burn
Facts.
bridges in cybersecurity.
Facts. Or back end, because it's small. It's especially when you black, it is small.
Yeah, all of the
It's small.
CISOs know each other because they all go to the same conferences, SANS and other CIO conferences and stuff like that. And they ask, hey, that guy Jelani, you ever heard of him before? Yeah, he
And you got a unique name, so you
Yeah,
stand out.
yeah.
Your name is unique. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, that guy used to be in the management. He didn't come back though. So it's just that sort of thing. But you're in a very stable market. Web development is always pretty stable. That's why I kind of covered it tonight because I thought it was pretty interesting. It's one of the top skill sets to have is to be a web developer, front end, back end, and full stack. And so I would just kind of, I'm one of those people. I don't believe in doing, you got to be like the Asians. You got to study for 4 hours. That's BS, man. There ain't nobody sitting around for 4 hours studying, man. It's just you're an adult now. You just don't have that kind of flexibility and bandwidth. And so I would say, man, kind of brush up on the latest technologies and some of the latest news, man. Spending like 30, 40, 45 minutes at best, man, just reading some of the latest articles coming out, man. That's kind of why we do this on the Brain Trust, man. We cover a lot of pieces and go over it together so that we're all informed, we're all on the same page.
And like Mike said, I always just keep adding to your skill set, because as you master something, keep adding on another skill set. Like I was like you, I did Java and PL SQL for a while. So me learning the Oracle database just was a natural extension. Right. Then the next thing I know, I'm learning Linux. Then you just add on to your skill set. And it's not a big learn because, like you said, once you get to UX, then you're like, okay, am I going to learn Java or C# that your UX is calling? Once you learn that, okay, what database do I want to specialize in? Calling that, then you just keep adding to it. Like Mike, it's not a big lift, but you need to master the piece you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And plus what happens is I came up through a completely different track. I told you I was doing help desk 20 years ago.
Yep.
And then I started doing technical or tech support, like actual physical support on, at the time, desktops and laptops. So even though the track is completely different, the vibe is completely the same, because then what happened is that some of the technologies that you work with, we were a Novell network back then. I don't exist no more. Right. So things will come up, things will fall down. And I don't know, maybe about a good 5, 10, 15 years ago, I was like, wow, you can virtualize a computer and run it inside of another computer. Oh man, that's crazy. Let me start playing with that. Boom. Virtualization wave hits and it will just sweep you along with it. So, I mean, what will be the next thing? It's impossible to predict. Nobody can tell you.
Cloud.
And if anybody, cloud is, so here's the thing, man, my God, I switched from virtualization to cloud because my own personal opinion, I can't state it as fact, but the cloud is nothing but virtualization running in somebody's data center, right?
Facts. You 100%. Facts. Keep going. Facts.
And so if I started out in virtualization, well, now we take an entire network fabrics, entire compute fabrics, entire storage fabrics, and we just virtualizing all of that mess, right? And we just passing it out, little teeny tiny pieces to whoever want to pay for it, right? Yeah, well, that's all that is. And then when you hit cloud, good God. But so here's the thread between all of them, because when you hit cloud, boy, you walk in the door, they just throw money at you, right? So because the need is so great.
Right.
But here's the line between all of those guys. So you're talking about a virtualized infrastructure sitting on top of some sort of who cares what, right? At the end of the day, 90% of it runs on some variation of Linux.
Facts.
So 90% of it uses some language or set of protocols to organize communication on the back end and present information on the front end.
Thanks.
Now, it don't matter what door you walk into the bank. Just walk to the money, right? So if you come in on the help desk, if you come in doing web dev, if you come in doing whatever, like start studying that stack. And wherever like your job is on that stack, because the tech stack is the tech stack. And now AI is coming in. And as AI blows up, it's just going to be another layer on the tech stack. Web 3.0 is just going to be another layer on the tech stack. So whatever layer you walk in at, start learning that and start growing from there. And then what'll happen is that sooner or later, you'll hit a current that's just going to pull you. Man, I'm in Taiwan right now. So, and I mean, I'm from Chicago, dog. Like, so, I mean, what's special about me? Nothing, but the fact that I learned virtualization and then was like, oh my God, Amazon is offering these services and you can just buy this and you can run whatever, wherever. Well, come to find out that businesses are like, oh, we ain't got to pay $40,000 5 times over for 5 different servers. Oh, we can just give Amazon this money on a monthly basis. Well, here, we'll give you $120,000. You go do it. There you go.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that Paul's saying at all, man. I think he's right on the money, but I definitely think that Jelani, you want to stay abreast on a lot of the emerging technologies that's happening in web development. Web3, like Paul said, is something that is really hot right now in terms of that web development aspect or technology aspect. You want to be able to speak to certain things that's happening, right? Because they may throw a fastball or curveball at you. They're going to be expecting you to kind of see if you're on your toes or not. I can't tell you how many interviews I've seen. A guy threw some pencils on the floor and said, what would you do with this pencil? How would you, what are the various things you could do with this pencil? And I'm like, they're trying to see how you think on your feet. Is basically what they're trying to do. And so you just want to kind of stay abreast on some of the emerging technologies that are coming out. You don't have to be a network engineer or anything like that, but you need to know if that website you're developing gets compromised, what's going to be, what's going to be the loss, right? Data is the loss, right? Companies don't like to lose data because they have to pay a big fine for that. And they have to report that, and then they lose their reputation and so on and so forth. So you want to kind of speak to data is the biggest asset for a company when it comes to web development, and you don't really want to develop a website without having proper security controls in place. So I would go to OWASP, OWASP. Actually, let me share my screen. See what we could see.
Yeah, but to add to what you were saying though, I actually took a course on like Web3. I think that was around like November and December time. So I actually have like a project on my portfolio, but I just really never had any success with like getting some jobs with that. I did get a reply back from one of those companies, and there was like, it was for an internship. They was like, oh, we don't feel like you're actually ready for that yet. So they said reapply in like 3 to 6 months, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I don't have time to work for free on like open source projects and all this other stuff. You feel me? Like I got to get paid now. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Sometimes you got to give a little bit to get a little bit, man. I'm old as shit and I'm working on my AWS certs, man. You got to give something to get something, because you can't come in and say, give me all this money. You ain't got the skills, right? So you got to get your skills to a certain level to get the money to get more skills, right? Like Mike said, I maybe lab 2 or 3 hours a week for the whole 7 days. So you don't have to kill yourself, but like you said, you need to be hitting emerging stuff. So when you have those conversations, and as a Black man, I feel like they be hitting with me with microaggressions. They be testing me to make sure I really know my stuff inside and out. So I'm gonna have to show you how brilliant I am just to get my damn foot in the door. But once again, I'm old and I'm a curmudgeon and I'm always mad, man. That's my 2 cents. I'm like, that's chime in. That's how I've been doing it, man. Like I said, I'll be 55 this year, man. But I'm always laughing because, like Paul said, I got to get to the next bag. The next bag for me is the cloud. That's going to take me to 67 and I can retire. But if I miss that, I know BlackBerry programmers went from 100,000 to 0. I know guys were doing Ingress database that don't exist anymore. So you can get a wave and you can miss a wave, right? So you got to make sure you're in the sweet spot so you can get paid. And sometimes, Jelani, that doesn't come easy, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is OWASP website, Open Worldwide Application Security Project. Okay, this is their top 10, and what they focusing on is what are the top 10 application security risk that companies should be looking out for, right? And so this changes every couple of years, but it's good to know that they categorize this all for you. You don't have to do anything. You just kind of look at it, you glance, and you see the things that you should be looking out for when you're developing a website or an application, because websites do become applications when they have that functionality to ingest data and process, right? And so I'll drop this link in the chat for you and just kind of brush over it. It goes over what broken access control is, why they moved it up, and what impact it has within the market today. The last time they updated was just around the pandemic, so they only do it every couple of years. You probably won't see it until another update until like 2025. So this is a really good reference when you're developing a website as a junior web developer and what you should be looking for. And so in the interview, you can speak to this, that I look at the OWASP top 10 to determine what security risk would impact a website when I'm developing it, right? So this is a big sell. Trust me, it's a big sell.
It's a huge sell because our development team suck at it. I do security. So like Mike said, I actually take them this list to make sure this is included in our secure code. Because when we do pair programming, I have to review code. And like Mike said, when the question is, are you doing OWASP top 10? Mm-hmm. I do federal level. There's actually 420 application security checks I have to do against an app. The OWASP top 10 is just the icing on the cake to get started. And I promise you, half the mid-level programmers don't know what that is.
Okay, for sure. I'll definitely check it out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And let me add this to it as well, bro. Like everybody hit a bunch of I'm sorry.
No, finish up. Keep
okay.
it talking. We'll
it'll be real quick. I was just everybody on point with what they saying. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to add a few things, like as far as you may get into this front end development job or whatever and realize that you don't even like that work or whatever. So keep your options open, meaning look into other technologies out here. Everybody already said that, but yeah, that's another reason why you want to look into other technologies out here to add to your portfolio. So you can, if you need to transition to something else, and I think Mike touched that a few seconds ago, that happened to me as well. Or Paul, he touched on that. You know what I'm saying? I started out as something else, like networking, systems administration. I ended up doing database work. So, I mean, you kind of never know where you're going to end up either. You know what I'm saying? As far as the type of work that you enjoy or like to do or like learning, you know what I'm saying? So it's best to get a lot of at least some information about other technologies out there and kind of add those skills to your tool belt, so to speak.
Yeah, I wanted to take a second on that real quick, because I don't think that that's spoken on enough, right? Because usually what you see are people saying, become this role in this amount of time. And a lot of times it's unrealistic, right? Like you can't teach somebody to be a cloud architect in 24 hours, right? Like that's just not going to work. but they're selling a product. But what happens, I think, a lot of the time in the real world is people start out moving in a certain direction, and then an opportunity presents itself, or a role becomes available, or someone that you really like and have lunch with at work does something slightly different but tangential to what it is you do, and they're willing to show you some of it. Like, don't be so locked into whatever thing it is like you came up with initially, that you're not willing to shift when an opportunity presents itself, because like a lot of the times those opportunities can be very, very lucrative.
Yeah, he's correct. You never know where your career or where you will end up. I love AI, I love all machine learning and all that good stuff, but at the same time, I still learn blockchain. I still program in blockchain and all that good stuff. So you just have to just pick something and try to figure out what you like at the same time. I even dabble in cybersecurity sometimes. Again, in the data side. Again, it's just again you at one point you realize every technology is basically connected in some way. And at one point you just need to pick something you enjoy and go from there. And that's again, you will never know where you end up at.
Jelani, where region are you in?
I live in Florida.
Oh, okay. Go on, download the app Meetup. Okay, MEETUP. Okay, there's a couple of groups down there. I know Richard Dixon was down there, who's in our chat. There's some groups down there that focus on web development and things like that. They meet up like once a month, maybe twice a month. I know the groups out here, they meet up weekly. You can't keep these folks in the house at all, man. They're gonna be out there, chefing it up at DigitalOcean. They kind of meet up at DigitalOcean, and they just be drinking beers and discussing tech, especially web development. That's one of the big factors that they and it's free. You don't have to pay for anything. They don't really charge you for anything. You just come in there, you show up, you say, hey, I'm Jelani, and I'm getting into web development. They love junior people, man. They love to mold people and mentor people. So I would suggest, you download that app, look up in your area by geolocation for web developer groups, and kind of tip your toe in there, man. Everybody's coming back out because the pandemic is kind of cleared up. And so groups are starting to meet back up now offline. So I would definitely utilize Meetup for social networking. You want to kind of increase your footprint, your social capital in the market, so that in case anything else pops up, somebody might reach out to you and try to bring you on, try to offer an opportunity to you.
Yeah, and just chiming in what Mike said, that I need to do a better job once again because I'm old. And shout out to Keep It Techie, they're good at LinkedIn, man. I get people hitting me on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn suck, man. When I look at Keep It Techie and Kev Tech, they got like 5,000 followers, and they're posting on LinkedIn, and they're hooking their YouTube channel to LinkedIn, and recruiters. And Mike can tell you, once you get your stuff, recruiters will start pinging you. Engineering cannabis, they get on my nerves after a while, but you need to get your LinkedIn tight, and you can use that to kind of recruiters will find you, and you can use that to reach out to people also. Like I said, I need to get my LinkedIn a little tighter. I think that's a young man's game, but
yeah.
So what is the best way to get recruiters to your LinkedIn page?
They're going to find you by keyword. They're going to find you by keyword.
And the portfolio, you should be when you work on stuff, you should post it. Even if it's something small, I iterated through this page and decided posting it too which kind of pissed me off. A lot of people are going to show you how smart they are. They're going to comment on it. It might be a little negatively, but when they comment on your stuff, that flows through their feed, right? So then people start knowing, then you start commenting on other people's page. And really what you want to do is you can kind of become a SME in a certain area on LinkedIn. Like I do cybersecurity, so people reach out to me for assurance for federal work. All right. So get your LinkedIn tight. Go ahead and chime in on that, Mike.
And that's one. Yeah, that's one thing. I know you said you don't want to work on like open source projects or whatever because you need the money. I get it. We all need the money. I 100% agree with that. But working on those projects, you know, on GitHub or whatever, or your own personal projects that you came up with, that can be shared on your LinkedIn. It can be linked right there on your LinkedIn. These are some of the projects that I'm working on or I'm involved with. And these are some of the changes I'm whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's a great place to showcase, you know, different things that you've worked on as a developer, even if it's like your own project, something that you built within your personal lab or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's definitely something to build up your portfolio. And yeah, PBO is right. LinkedIn is great. I share I try to share as many jobs and stuff that I see in like certain groups that are on there that'll help you build up not an audience, that's not the right word, somewhat, or
Following?
get involved with communities.
Yeah.
Because communities, and networking, that'll definitely help you. People start seeing you, you know, posting, responding, and doing certain things. Those recruiters are in those groups. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's a position that they're looking for, there are database groups out there. If you're like heavily involved in those groups, that'll, you know, definitely, you know, put you out there. And yeah, it looks like Mike finna bring it up as well, or something to that effect. Yeah, go ahead.
LinkedIn is a powerful tool. 90% of the time, most of my jobs came from LinkedIn. It's a very powerful tool to network. And again, everybody here is not, they're telling you the exact truth. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool to network, and recruiters will contact you. Once you have those certain keywords or key skills in there, they will continue contacting you through their emails, through the LinkedIn portal, everything.
Tell them the bad part, engineer cannabis, then they just start getting on your nerves.
Yeah, they do get on your nerves at one point. Yeah.
Real quick is YouTube. I got really cool with Keep It Techie. I was in his chat answering some cybersecurity questions. He was like, yeah, keep doing that. Then me and him got cool, and he invited me on his channel. Then you just starting to grow, man, and people start knowing you. But Jelani, you got to give a little bit for free to get something back, bro.
I hear you. I'm taking those, man.
You gotta get a little bit. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention this here. This is meetup.com, and this is web development groups in Jacksonville. I don't know if you're in Jacksonville, but there's other, you know, there's one in Orlando too. There's some in Miami, definitely in Miami, because it's real big down there. But these are some of the groups that they have going on down there. You know, things like WordPress. Do you know WordPress? PHP, Web, and Drupal. Drupal is really big now. Before it wasn't that big. Now it is big. You got to have Drupal in your portfolio. React, definitely, that's always a plus. Ruby is always a plus. Perl, understanding APIs. You don't need to be an expert, just need to know what an API is. Yeah, Apache. You know, do you know what Apache web server is, and can you know?
Facts.
You explain that?
Yeah, I started off on Apache. Facts.
Yes.
HTTPD. Then I switched over to Tomcat for Java. But like you said, that's the stuff like Keep It Techie said. You can build your lab, or like Paul said, I don't even do labs anymore. I do all my lab in an AWS. I spin up a cheap EC2. You get a year for free, then you can build what you want to build.
Yeah, so they got an app for it, Jelani. You can download it to your phone, man. It's worth its weight in gold. I don't know how they make money off of it, but you know, I don't get it. I know WeWork had tried to acquire Meetup, because Meetup usually were happening at WeWorks, and then that deal kind of fell out the window at the height of the pandemic. So.
That is incorrect, Mr. Hypermagnetic. Nginx is not better than Apache. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So I just think, man, those top 10 skills, you know, I only disagree with a couple of them, man, but I definitely think that it was right on the money. I think they were right on the money with that, you know, in terms of what people should be looking out for this year. I'm not a developer by any means, but you know, I definitely understand that full stack full stack development is where everything is right now, especially with things like Lyft and Uber. They're really full stack.
Oh, fine. Let me chime on it. I did that. I start off with Oracle PL SQL, and I did Java. And the full stack, really, like you said, now you can help the front end, the middle, and the back end, right? So you can do Angular, or you can do React, or you can do C#, Java, Python. Then on the back end, what's your database of choice, right? Then that full stack you can build anything you really want to build. Then the real kicker on that is if you could put it on a cloud, Azure, AWS, Google, pick one. If you can do all that, then you could build whatever product you really want to build, right? But just learning each one of those and just getting decent at it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when the full stack, you don't have to be great at it because you understand the full stack. Right. So there's some front end people better than me, but they didn't know the back end. There's some back end people don't know the middle. When you know the full stack right now, you can architect a project or application. Then those guys can do their expertise off your design.
Yeah, I would definitely plan on adding at least one back-end language to my resume. So I think I'm gonna be focusing on like PHP.
That's not bad. That's good. PHP, Python. There's a ton of them out there. And two is, and I programmed for years. Once you understand syntax, you can easily pick up another language. Right. After a while, a loop's a loop, a parameter's a parameter, a substitution, variable's a variable. Yeah. So then
if all that.
So once
functions,
you pick up a language, you get your function, procedure, parameter, insert CRUD into a database, you can usually pick up any language and kind of figure it out on the fly. You might not be the best of it, but if you understand syntax, you can pick up any other language pretty good. I went from Java to C# and I've seen guys, because those two languages was built off each other, right? Then if you can do those, you can pick up PHP, Python, or whatever. Like, it's just syntax after that.
Yep. And I think like the latest version of Python, I think was it like 3.1, 3.114, 3.19, whatever it is. I think they've kind of cleaned it up a lot in terms of the syntax, because before, man, it was horrific to write in Python. You had to get everything right.
No, they cleaned it up. It's the functions are easy to basically put in. That is clean. It's real nice, and it's easy to comprehend too.
Yeah, but two is all of them usually have an IDE of choice that helps you with code completion now.
Yeah, Jupyter Notebook.
So if you look, because I do IDEs for Java. So once you get the IDE now, once you start, it'll put a loop in, it'll put the framework around it. You just need to put your variable in now, so it's a lot easier to code now. So
I read an article that said. I read an article that said that something like it's an insane percent of I believe, wait, God, I gotta look that up again. An insanely high percent of the code that's being done in Microsoft's Visual Studio Code is being completed by that what do they call it? Copilot, their AI. Man, I'm telling you, once you get the principles down, like the code editor of choice, like it's a race now to get the smartest machine to be able to complete the technical framework for you while you just give instructions.
Yeah, but they're getting sued now because Microsoft bought GitHub. So they're taking the best code out of GitHub and just giving it free to people in their IDE. And the people like, dude, you can't steal my techniques. So they use ours to finish it up, like you said, code completion. There it is, Copilot. So Copilot's finishing their code, and Microsoft getting sued because they're taking people's intellectual property because it's the best design and just putting it in the Copilot. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. So what's so funny about that is that good, bad, or indifferent. Like I've been in tech for 20 years, man. We spell Microsoft with $. They've been doing this literally to companies for 20 years. This is what they do. Like Microsoft doesn't innovate. They buy. right? Like, and if you come up with a good product, I mean, that's been the tech dream for 20 years. It's coming up with a good enough product to sell to Amazon or Microsoft, then you're a billionaire and you do whatever you want to.
Yeah, they're in the business of M&A.
Facts. Been that way from the start.
Yeah, that's so true. And a lot of people, I don't know if you guys remember, like before they or around the time they were looking at acquiring GitHub, it was a lot of talks about, Microsoft is looking to embrace open source, the open source community, which they've never embraced open source or Linux or anything like that forever. You know, it was a power move.
Facts.
You know, we're seeing it now.
Facts.
Only and
Shout out
ever,
to
man.
them.
They say they call them cats the Borg, man, right? Like they
Facts.
resistance is futile, right? Like they're just trying to add your technological distinctiveness to their own. And I mean, like, why argue about the weather, right? Like if it start raining, you don't start yelling at the clouds, right? Like just go get an umbrella. And Microsoft does that. And will they get sued? Yeah, man, they getting sued in Europe, man. So I'm over in East Asia right now. There are a lot more laws about how these companies have to operate than in America. And they get sued all over the world all the time. But if you make $1 billion doing something, and then somebody sue you for $1 million, man, you just made like just under $1 billion. You don't care.
Right,
So they're
Paul,
gonna keep on doing the same thing.
You're not saying it right, Paul. That's just them doing business. That's part of doing business, getting sued. They got that in the budget.
That's exactly right, man. And I mean, like, if it didn't work, they quit doing it. Like, and if it wasn't as profitable as it was, they would do something different. And like being out of the States for a while, I've really noticed, man, like in the States, ooh, gosh, the government doesn't protect people from like business very much at all, man. Outside of the States, like governments be like, no, like businesses, you could do this, you could do that, but like y'all got to chill with whatever. In America, they'd be like, good luck, y'all.
Oh no, but you know, we got lobbyists, man. You know, they paying lobbyists and senators. You know, that's part. If you look at tech now, they got in the lobbying, man. To be honest, I was on a big project, and true story, I said something negatively about Microsoft. They had their lobbyists come talk to the president of the company I work for. So they don't be playing, man. Now the dude backed me up, but nah, they bought that lobbyist money. They buying talent companies and senators.
And one thing that I noticed too, though, is that over these years of being in tech, like the thirst right now, like the thirst is even deeper for technical professionalism than it was like 15 years ago, man. Like literally code.org, all of these different platforms that'll literally, if you want to sit down and just play with it for a little bit, will train you on all of these platforms. Like they all sponsored by like Amazon, all of these big companies, because they eat through technical talent like so rapidly that they
Jelani leaving in 3 months. My fault. Jelani leaving in 3 months. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna at least give you a year, a solid year.
Nah, I'm playing with you, Lonnie. Go ahead, Paul. I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. Go ahead.
It's all good, man. And plus the thing about it is that like I won't lie to you, I actually enjoy being an old man. But if I was young back in the game, if I was back in this game how it is now, man, please, man, off to the races, dog. Like so these jobs, they're not marriages, man. You're dating. You're not marrying, you're dating. And like ask any successful dater, like if the conditions change, the date is done, right? Like so offer value, like see yourself as a company, see yourself as Jelani Incorporated, and make it Jelani Incorporated's mission to provide the absolute best service that is possible any place in the world, doing anything it is you do at any moment. Like if you're washing your car, make yourself the best car washer that has ever existed. And like, it doesn't really matter how deep technically your expertise is on any particular thing at any particular moment. There's always going to be somebody who knows a little bit more than you do. But like, if you have a good attitude and you're willing to do extra, but you have some firm boundaries on what's reasonable and what you will do and what you're looking for yourself, well, then you're just a good professional to work with. And like what's going to happen, and I've seen it a trillion times, man. Like you go from search and search and search and search and search, and it might take you 6 months. You might feel really down. It's taken a long time, but you get your first job, you show up consistently, you learn as much as you contribute as much as you can, and you will be so busy from that point forward, you'll look back in 10 or 15 years and be like, oh boy, where did that time go?
No,
Because you're just
Yeah.
going to get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And you're going to see people along the way. They're going to be complaining. I don't want to do something a new way. I don't want to keep on doing it the way that we've done it for 20 years. Okay, that's cool. You'll probably be able to manage that. I'm going to go get this money doing it the new way. I'm going to add this new process, right? Like, don't fall into that trap.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Second
feel
trap.
you because like over like the past like 2 months, man, I just been burnt out, man. Like just getting the answer no all the time. It's kind of like, damn, you know what I'm saying?
Keep going, man. You just need one yes. Like you
Bruh.
said, it takes a
Bruh.
while too, man. Don't give up, man. Just keep grinding, keep working in skills. And two is, and don't get discouraged because once you get in, when I first went to DOD, I was nervous, man. I'm like, okay, I'm with the top program. Once you get in, it's a bell curve. 10% of the people I couldn't touch. 80% of the people, they just average. The other 30%, they ain't doing shit because they waiting for retirement, man. So once you get in there, you're gonna be right in the middle of the bell curve and you're gonna be handling. But like Paul said, you got to get in there, right? Then two, what I did is I hung out with the top 10% because I'm like, I'm gonna learn this stuff so I can get the big money. And those guys are willing to train because a lot of people get complacent. They trying to do the bare minimum. So you come in, people start giving me work. And I was like, why they give me work? And he just told me, he said, these old dudes are just waiting till retirement. So once people anointed me as a guy that wanted to work, then I started getting promoted. Then I was on the top team at the end, right? Because
There's the secret right there.
yeah,
That's it.
so and I promise you, I was nervous. I thought all these dudes were gonna be stellar. I'm at the Department of Defense. I'm like, dude, 30% of y'all is dumbasses, man. So don't be scared, man. You just gotta get your kid. Then, like Paul said, keep grinding. You're gonna get your chance. You just gotta be ready when you get your chance. Don't give up. Just keep trying. On LinkedIn, man, you just gotta keep applying. I'm sorry, I'm an Indeed guy. So I go to Indeed, and Indeed got the machine learning. Once you pick 20 jobs, Indeed just gonna start sending you what you've been picking. So if you're looking for a junior developer, it'll start sending. Every morning I wake up, I got 50 jobs I go through, and I'm like, okay, I want that one. Then you can train Indeed to send you the jobs you want. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that is 1,000,000,000% correct about the bell curve, right? Because like I don't need to brag. You can hit my LinkedIn and see where I've worked at. And I mean, like, it's the exact same thing. I remember walking into, this building was as big as a full city block where I'm from. And the entire downstairs of it was nothing but a train and server farm. I was like, man, I was as nervous as I've ever been in my life, thinking that these cats they all like robot geniuses. Well, walk in there and you do talk to the smartest people that are there because they got the smartest people, interviewing and talking to potential candidates and stuff like that. So it is easy to be overwhelmed. But then once, you join a company and you come and sit down, like after 6 months, you'll be like, I don't know how I don't know how he made his way to work. This dude's so stupid, man.
Facts.
And some of them cats be like smart, but like they be lazy. Not a word of a lie, man. The same building, 4 stories tall, 2 city blocks wide, server farm, the entire bottom floor, major server manufacturer. The dude that trained me on HPUX's version of Linux that like HP like uses to run the machines that switch the telephones, right? Or did back when Ma Bell was running a bunch of stuff. Man, all this dude wanted to do was and I'm swear I'm not lying. All he wanted to do was whittle. He was a wood carver. All he wanted to do was whittle. He would literally have like little carvings of wood that he was bringing in, and he would be whittling pieces to put on this stuff, man. This dude was like 30 years in the game, like 40 years in the game. So no, just the basics are the same every place. People talk about like the tech stack like it's some sort of weird magic or witchcraft. No, it's like it's job. Have those same attributes. Come in, be hungry, be willing to like, like have an attitude of service, but then also don't become a doormat. Like
Thanks.
stay late some if it's something that you're interested in. Don't stay late because somebody tell you got to stay late around here, because I guarantee you ain't got to stay late around there.
Let me bring in Dion Alexander. He's
Right.
waiting. Dion, are you there?
Hey, yeah, my fault, fellas. Yeah, I came in to speak on stuff, but everybody ended up touching on it. Peace to everybody, though. But yeah, I touched on great things that Jelani asked about and just the comments that he made. And I feel like not too long ago, I came from the same position as you, man. And it's a tough road, but just don't burn yourself out. And like everybody's saying, just definitely try to become a part of these communities and just build connections and just do your work and share your work, and everything ends up coming along and working itself out.
What line of tech are you in, Dion?
I'm an associate DevOps engineer right now. I work for an AWS partner.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
like
cool,
one of the
man.
top tier partners for AWS network.
Yeah, shout out to
DevOps
that.
holding it down.
Yeah, man,
DevOps is
I
hot.
came through like everything y'all saying. Like I ain't gonna act like I'm the best or anything like that. But the process and the road I took was free internships. I did it after doing this build space. It's like a Web3 full stack development, like little group they had on Discord and all through Twitter and stuff. I did that. And when you finish each project they gave out these NFTs for you to like pretty much show that you completed the work. Like the first 10 people or whatever to complete the project will get an NFT that you could present on your LinkedIn page.
That's good. Like
So I did
badges.
that.
Like
I
badges.
even went through, like I walked through the application that I built. It was kind of like a blockchain Twitter kind of application where you can like post something and it gets linked to the blockchain, everything in this hash and all that kind of stuff like that. You can link your wallet to it.
Mm-hmm.
But we did it on the Rink. We tested that, so you're not using any real ETH or anything like that. So that was cool to learn. And just the community I built through that, and people saw that, and I was posting on my LinkedIn and on my YouTube. I believe one of the videos is still up on my page right now. And I did that. Then I went and got a free internship through another little Web3 company, built great relationships there, worked on things I would have never thought about. And that's when I got introduced to like the idea of what DevOps is and what they do on that side. And then I went and got an internship as a DevOps engineer. And then with the same company, I was able to get promoted to full-time. So it's all the process. It all takes time, but the network is definitely a thing. And I don't think about it as working for free. Like I think it was either Paul or someone else that was saying it, like think of yourself as a business, like you said. That's exactly the thought process you got to have. And you're partnering kind of with these companies. And they're pretty much, I view it as they're just paying you to learn. Like it's kind of like a cheat code. You get paid to build your portfolio with these people. They're paying for your certification. They're paying for these learning subscriptions and everything like that. So if you could just flip your mind frame a little bit, it just makes the road a little easier to travel.
You DevOpsing on Azure or AWS?
And AWS.
Yeah, shout out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, somebody in the chat room asked about what about DevOps and SRE? Well, DevOps is a culture. It's not
exactly.
It's not a tangible thing. It's a culture. It's how you change the whole entire way you develop within an organization. Typically, what was happening before, your ops and your developers were separate. Now with DevOps, they combine all of that together, so they're not siloed. When Paul, Prof, and myself was here earlier in 20 years ago, everybody was siloed. Network guys did network stuff, desktop guys and sysadmins did sysadmin stuff. Now all that stuff is iterative together. And so that's the kind of the purpose of DevOps. It's the cultural piece. Mm-hmm. The SRE, right? Your site reliability engineer, those are your sysadmins now. Those are your new sysadmins. So they just changed the name from sysadmin to site reliability engineer, and it's basically a new sort of cultural take on IT operations.
Yeah, and definitely in part to, like you said, the methodology behind DevOps, I definitely was able to fit into the team a lot faster and more efficiently because of the community building skills and everything I learned along the way, and learn how to reach out and how to navigate. Like, I mean, it seems simple, but how to navigate a Discord it's kind of more difficult and annoying than navigating a Slack, but it's kind of the same thing. You're reaching out to different teams. You're reaching out to everybody that's involved with the project in different ways, whether it be the FinOps team or the cloud engineers or whoever it may be. So
yeah, and that's a hidden gem. And I think that as you get older, and he's seeing it early, is I work with brilliant people that are on the spectrum that can't look other people in the eye, right? So you got project managers, but even on your team. So I was on a team called Integration. There's a whole team. Them dudes are brilliant, but they can't talk to the customer.
Oh yeah, man.
Right. So
and the thing is, if you could talk to them and bridge that gap with them, they want to give you all the information they want. Then you're somebody that they can talk to now, and they're like, oh shoot, now they want to give you everything they ever learned, everything they've seen, all the problems they went through, so you don't have to go through them just to have somebody to talk to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Remote. Dion's saying that. How old are you, Dion?
I'm 28 years old.
See, yeah, Dion 50. So Dion getting in the game. So as he do that, all of a sudden, I get invited to managers meeting because they be like, well, Dion's talking to the developer, so we need Dion in the middle to communicate. Because these dudes, because people don't even realize project managers, project owners, that was created because developers couldn't talk to the customers. So those dudes make $100,000 because those dudes are on the spectrum.
Engagement managers that just engage with the other team for the
come on, man.
Like, it's crazy, man.
They making shit up, man, but they make it. So
but it's real. It's real though, because when you behind these computers and you really digging through this code and everything, it's man, you talking to these computers all day. It's hard to make that code switch if you're not naturally like that. You know what I mean?
So that I'm going to make everybody. That's when you got to use your game from the manosphere. Now I'm just
absolutely.
You know what though? To be honest with you, I just came to a realization when I heard the word code switching. That's why brothers are so good at that, because like you talk to your friends, I'm talking to y'all right now. I talk like how I was talking to my boys when I grew up, but you know, like. Again, I'm in East Asia, but it don't matter. You could be in any place in America. Somebody white walking in, and I mean, you just
I started out literally just sitting in the chat. Like I got a little anchor now or whatever. I was just sitting in the chat a lot of the times, even still, just listening to how everybody's carrying themselves and how they're speaking about these things. But you know, we're still keeping our vernacular, but we're still keeping it professional. And obviously, we want to speak in certain ways when we're on the job and things like that. But just sitting here and having this discourse, it's so monumental to progressing into people for sure.
Yeah, and you said it. Like I said, I've been in the game for 30 years. Is when you do that, that's how you become a supervisor. That's how you become manager. Because I was managing an Indian team on accident. Next thing I know, they like talk to the Indian team in the morning. Next thing I know, I'm giving them requirements. I'm like, I'm not getting paid to manage the Indian team. But like Dion said, is most people in the tech at a certain level can't communicate, especially if you super tech, you can't communicate business wise and go back and forth. That's it. That's a skill, right? So.
No, yeah. And even like getting hired on, like I may have missed the mark on a few of the technical things, but because I went through the company as an intern too, I was able to shadow different departments. And again, that just helps with the whole DevOps methodology thing. I shadowed different departments. I met with different teams and built relationships with different people. And when they came to interview me, these are some of the same people that I had already built a relationship with. And they were able to see like I'm a person that somebody would want to work with. Not just that I know everything I need to be known. So Jelani, when you're getting even to these interviews, like Mike was saying, I believe, or somebody else may have said, like look up these people's LinkedIn, look up their Facebook, get to really build with these people as people too. So you can break that little screen in between you all, and then they might want to pass you on just because you're just a good person. You know what I mean? And then if you show that you're able to do all these things on your free time, and you show your projects, and you have these little videos on YouTube, you have your GitHub up to par, and you even have a little network to vouch for you as well. Because when you join, if you were to join these little internships for free, you're building these projects and you're sharing it on LinkedIn, these people are going to vouch for you as well because you're helping them and you're part of their community. You know. And
Dion tells you when you work with people, if people like you, they'll let stuff slide because they're going to train you how they want to train you because you're a junior person.
Absolutely.
But then as you go up the ranks, I've had people tell me, I want you to get this job. I'm like, dude, what if a military? They said, we're going to take the job out and put it back in because we want you to have it. That's because that's how they be doing it behind the scenes. Then, but once they do it for you, like, oh, I see how this stuff really works. Half the jobs posted or posted, they're posted because they have to post it, and they already got people in mind who they want to get the job.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like a network is like so important.
Yeah, but you gotta help the network, Jelani.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
that's why
I
I'm
plan
pulling
on
this up on
actually.
screen. That's why I'm pulling this up on screen. Blacks United in Leading Technology. Very good group. Joined them a couple of years ago during the pandemic, man, and have nothing but positive things to say about them. They do a lot of good work. I know you're in Florida, so I'm just
Yeah, I'm in
highlighting that.
Miami, so
Yeah, they have a Miami chapter down there, and see what kind of events they got. And I guess nothing's going on right now, but if I go here to their website, they do have a lot of training. I think last week they were covering Azure or something like that. Yeah, Houston Black Tech Symposium, April 25th to the 27th. I won't be able to meet that, but these are the sort of things, sort of events that they be having. And so I would definitely put this on the list. I'm going to drop this in the chat so that everybody else can peruse it on their own time. And we'll do some last thoughts and close out.
But yeah, last thoughts, only thoughts I have to share. It just be consistent, man. It's definitely a ride. But like these gentlemen were saying, once you get in there, man, it's all the opportunities there for you. Just be prepared for it. Don't fall for that imposter syndrome stuff and that confidence. If you breathe in confidence from a level of competence, like you'll be unstoppable, man. Just continue on what you're doing. I think you're gonna get what you want. And the opportunity you missing out on, they just might not have been for you. So it's all about just framing your mind in certain ways. And like somebody said earlier too, if you could record these interviews and see if you feel like you went wrong, they didn't even say it. Write down your thoughts after these interviews and see what you could have said or what you missed out on or what you were stuck on, and really try to fill these gaps. Because that's what you're gonna have to be doing on the job, no matter what. Anyway, just filling your own gaps, like recognizing where you're at, building your own professional development plan. It's gonna come with the help of your managers and teammates as well. But if you can get a head start on that with yourself, and even with people like everybody here as well, you come back to here with not just questions about, oh, I think I did something wrong, but oh, here's where I'm at. This is what I saw. Somebody has been through it before, and then we can reflect on that with you, and it could be more beneficial for you. At least that's my thoughts on it.
Go ahead, Prof.
No, just like Dion said it. Two, don't have imposter syndrome, and the way to get over imposter syndrome is to lab and work on your skill set. Because once you do the labs and you're confident in your skill set, then you won't have an imposter syndrome, right? Because you're working on your skill set. Just keep grinding. Come here, go to a lot of places. A lot of people in the chat, there's a lot of ways to learn, and don't give up, man. Tech, once you get your first job, like Dion said, man, it's gonna be sweet, man. You'll be at six figures quick, but you gotta grind and get there, man. Nothing comes easy. And I enjoyed being on a panel.
Definitely, man. Paul.
Yeah, there is no greater reward than to be able to look back and say that, hey, I suffered through some of the same issues. I had some of the same problems, and be able to say that, listen, if you stick to it, I have seen that there is a great need, and you'll have now the problems that I have, like traveling, getting your kids in college overseas and all this other stuff like that. You'll get brand new problems that'll be a lot sunnier and have a lot more dollar signs attached to them. But to start out, stick to your guns. Whatever it was that you liked about tech in the beginning, keep playing with it. And sooner or later, an opportunity will become available. And when it does, be aggressive, get it, and hold on, because it's going to be a ride, man.
Jelani?
Yeah, man. Oh, man, I appreciate everybody for like just tapping in and giving me some free game, man. You know what I'm saying? Like when people come to the space and they act like people not really talking about tech, it really like discouraging just to know that people don't come to the space and don't actually try to look for the information that's out here, you know what I'm saying? And like spaces like this don't get the credit that it actually deserves. So yeah, man, took some notes down, man. I appreciate all the information that y'all gave me, man. Like thanks to y'all, bro, you know?
Indeed. I just want to thank everybody for coming up, man, and everybody in the chat. Before you leave out, just hit the like button as you exit, and share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust.